is we're making a slum at the other end of town. We're making a slum somewhere that's in the 1 and 2 family houses. We're gonna put all our COA together, and you know what, when those kids go to school, they're gonna know where they're coming from, because the units are not gonna be spread around the buildings. They're gonna be coming from a specific place. And I have a problem with that in terms of what you're doing here. It's a consideration I think you should consider, because the boards have been very sympathetic about allowing, and the mayor and council have an ordinance that allows them to transfer to another piece of property and not put it on site. Now we're talking about hundreds, 6,000 more people, 6,000 more units we're establishing. The county years ago said 10,000 was our build out. We're up to 12. Now we're going to be 18. Where are you putting these people? In terms of traffic on River Road, it's going to be a standstill. There's no doubt about it. If of those 6,000 units have 400 cars, we're dead. We're dead in the water. Because that's going to impact so badly on the road. And once that road gets impacted, our businesses are all had it. Nobody's going to sit in a thing for an hour and a half to get to Victoria's Secrets, and they're not. They're just not. And those buildings are going to die because we did not protect them in terms of the traffic on the road. Whether it's the county road or our road, we're dying from it. We're going to die. And in addition to that, as we all know, people now go online to buy. They don't go to the stores anymore. That's why Barnes and Noble's closed down. They don't. You give it a little traffic jam, forget it. Forget it. So now, even though it's mixed use, we now lose that income to the town. We lose the commercial because we've overdeveloped in terms of residential. And that's a big concern that I have in terms of making so many more R5s in this end of town. We just cannot. We cannot support that within the town. And then I just had one other specific thing to this. The properties that Ms. Gregory spoke about. These are the properties on Old River Road. As you first come on Old River Road, that sit up on the hill. Most of the properties are owned by residents in Cliffside Park because they want them to protect their views. They have to live up above on the Esplanade. Sorry, that's not Esplanade. 510 Old River Road, well, it's block 86, lots 3, 4.01, 4.02, 5.01, 6, and 10, which are now zoned apparently R4, although this list said...
No, R40.
R40, this list said B40, but it's R40. That's what it's zoned now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, those are corrections.
And you want to move it to R3.
Yes.
And R3 is what?
Multifamily townhouse.
Multifamily townhouse. The argument for the Palisades Cliffs is a justifiable argument. If you pollute the river, you can clean it up. If you cut down a tree, you can rebuild a tree. If you rip up a green space and pave it, you can reclaim it. When the cliffs are gone, they're gone. And I think because there is a lot there that is an R40, and these are already R40s, they should not be changed to townhouses.
You put that West Main also.
Yeah, I think that would be disastrous. I mean, they have to combine together, obviously. They aren't going to put townhouses, these are small little lots. But I think that will go a long way to protect the Palisades in that area that have been damaged so badly south of us, north of us. And I think in terms of population, in terms of students, if you want to use that as an argument, those are buildings that we really don't need. R40 is better. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Not a problem. Thank you, Mary. Michael.
Mr. Misery, could you just please come up, spell your last name and come up, and your address, please.
I'm on the survey, 64 to 66 on River Road. Just regarding the superstation, since Gregory Franks knows that I'm the guardian of the parking and shade sign, he called me and asked me, what do I think about the idea? I said, I have to see it. Then he forwarded the plan, which is an initial plan, but looked pretty much final. And it turns out that River Road, the way it is now, the actual blacktop is 60 feet. The right-of-way is 80 feet. So the bus is going to pull into the River Road right-of-way with this extra 10 feet. And beyond this, there is land that was left over on the north parking lot for the installation of the shelter and the bicycle. And according to this plan, not one parking lot is being lost in the...
No parking spots are being lost?
Not one parking lot. The parking lot remains whole.
I'm glad you believe that.
Michael, you have anything else you'd like to say?
Only this point.
Okay. Anybody else in the public?
Just putting my notes together.
No problem. Say your name, spell your last name, and your address, please.
Does this mic work? No? I think so.
I think it should.
Yeah.
Is it on?
Is it on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Priscilla Triolo, I'm an attorney with Vinegar Triolo. I'm here on behalf of Kathleen Cricketer. I believe that there were...
Can you spell your last name just for the record, please?
Okay. Triolo, it's Triolo. The firm is Vinegar Triolo, that's Bittiger.
Just your last name is fine. Thank you very much.
All right. I have, first I have a statement, and it's a comment that I've expressed to your attorney. The notice of this meeting indicated that the planner's report would be available for inspection on April 18th, and the municipal offices were closed on April 18th. So the first available day that this report was even available was the Monday after, and I consider that an infirmity under the municipal land use laws. And I've already advised your attorney that I was going to put that on the record.
So noted.
Okay.
Okay. I've got a number of questions for the planner, if I could ask them, or you
Go
just
ahead.
want statements. You spent a great deal of time speaking about the River Road Hudson Waterfront Corridor Study, the Phase 2 study, and you've even incorporated language into your report. Can you tell me if, in your professional opinion, if this is a traffic analysis study?
No.
It is not a traffic analysis study.
No, a traffic analysis was performed as part of the study.
No, I'm asking you if this study is a traffic analysis that you've attached to your report.
No.
So there's nothing in this report that identifies an analysis of the traffic in each of the municipalities that are affected by this report. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in fact, it's just a corridor study with regard to pedestrian traffic in order to suggest that communities develop more pedestrian-friendly development. Isn't that correct?
No, that is not correct.
Okay, so then you tell me where it did an analysis of traffic.
If it didn't do an analysis of traffic, it wouldn't have recommended the bus pull-offs. It would have just recommended changing timing on the lights. It never would have talked about pulling the buses off the road to help alleviate the congestion. It does specifically talk about traffic congestion.
Does it address transit, as in buses or trains, that type of that correct?
Yes, it identifies that there's 6 buses that are operated by New Jersey Transit that operate along the road.
Did it do any traffic counts in Edgewater?
Yes,
And where are those traffic counts?
those are located in appendices that I did not print out because, again, there's appendices A through M or O, so I just have the actual study itself.
And so you provided a planner's report or a re-examination report to this board and to the public that is relying on information from a document that you didn't attach to your report.
Yes,
Okay. And what did those traffic counts say? Did they say that Edgewater should increase its density from 30 units an acre to 100 units an acre?
traffic studies don't make that kind of recommendation.
Did it indicate that the traffic was free-flowing and that there was a good idea that there should be more densities in the area?
Yes,
And it said that the densities should go from 30 to 100?
no, it didn't give specific density arrangements.
Okay. Isn't it fact that the report only said that you should put commercial on the first floor and put either business or residential above, and left it to the municipalities to make their own determinations with regard to densities?
You'll have to repeat the question.
Okay. Isn't it a fact that the report's recommendations were that you put commercial on the first floor to assist in the pedestrian-oriented transit mode, and that you put businesses and residential above the commercial, but left the decision on the densities to the municipalities?
Yes, but that wasn't the only recommendation.
I'm sorry?
That wasn't the only recommendation. I just wanted to be clear. One of the recommendations was to increase densities in FAR. It did not give a specific number, but that was one of the one of the recommendations, not just mixed-use developments.
It said specifically that Edgewater should increase their densities, or did it say that Edgewater should develop with commercial on the first floor and residential and businesses above?
Well, I stated that in my discussion.
I know what you stated there in discussion. I'm trying to figure out where in the report, because I looked at the report and it seemed like the report, as most county reports are, that they give great deference to the municipality and they don't usurp the rezoning.
Of course they don't, but we do have something called cross-acceptance, which happened a few years ago. Usually we want to be working with the county and support each other in our efforts. I'm trying to look to see what exact page of the report that it's on, and I'm sorry that I did not quote that, but if you give me a moment, I can try to find the actual page. That would be on page 90.
Page 90, and what does it say?
Yeah, it says specifically, update the master plan to adopt the TOD principles as described in this report, amend the zoning code to allow for TOD, high-density mix of uses, incentivize super stop development. It also has a section on update master plan, and then it has a section on amend zoning, which is what I quoted before, where I gave the 6 directives by the county, which included the mixed-use zones, and also allow for high density by allowing taller buildings and a large FAR.
And isn't TOD transit-oriented development, which
Yes.
goes in line with the county's idea that there should be commercial and street level for pedestrians and for public transportation?
That is one of the components, yes.
Transit-oriented development. Does it say anywhere in the report that the development in Edgewater should be changed? Now I just want to go back to what was in place before the 2012 ordinance. The highest density in Edgewater was 30 units per acre in a high-rise and 12 in a mid-rise. R5 zone and in an R4 zone had the same maximum densities. Did you review that at all?
Review what?
The prior development ordinances in Edgewater that limited densities with the highest density to 30.
Of course I did.
Okay. And you came to the conclusion that there should be 100 units per acre.
Yes.
Okay. And on page 19 of your report, you state that the current development patterns are not consistent with the zoning code or the master plan.
Yes.
You see that? Okay. Can you tell me where in Edgewater your proposal for 100 units per acre is bringing the code into conformity with existing development?
Can you rephrase the question, because I'm a little confused as to what you're asking.
Okay. The old code used to have 30 units per acre. Do you agree with me on that one?
Actually, no, the maximum density permitted was 110 dwelling units per acre. It's not on that schedule, it's actually located within the zoning code.
I'm sorry?
You have to actually look at one of the sections.
Is that for after 2012?
Nope, you have to see section 240-131. Under the B2A zone, 110 dwelling units an acre is permitted.
100 and what?
10.
And where was this?
That's in section 240-131.
And what zone was that?
That's the B2A zone.
That was a business zone, not residential.
No, actually, it's a mixed zone.
Okay. Going back to my question. My question was, if your report is telling this board that you're trying to bring the zoning code or the master plan in this particular instance into conformity with current development patterns, I'm asking you if you could tell the board where that current development pattern is that creates 100 units per acre.
Well, specifically off the top of my head, I don't know what the exact densities are of every single development, but an analysis was completed. And I know that the Alexander project, I believe was, I think it was approved at 85 dwelling units an acre. And then they came in for an adjustment with an increasing number of units, so the density would have increased.
And the Alexander project is in what location?
That is Archer. Street. Right, Archer Street and River Road.
Okay. Is that the only one in Edgewater?
No. There
Okay.
are,
I'm looking for the current development patterns. You're saying that the pre-existing code based upon the use variances granted are not consistent with the master plan or the code. And I can see that there are multifamily residential developments that have high numbers, but those are bigger parcels of land. Isn't that correct?
I don't know which ones you're referring to, so I can't say yes or no.
I'm just looking at your report on page 12. You're looking at the use variances, and then you come to the conclusion on page 19 that based on the table above, it is clear that current development patterns are not consistent with the zoning code or the master plan. So I'm asking you, what are the densities? You say units, but density, maybe I should back up. Isn't density how many units there are per acre? Isn't that what planners do? Your density is based upon how many units per acre?
Well, that's not what we do, but it is a measuring tool.
I'm sorry?
It's not what we do, but it is a measuring tool.
Okay. Is that the measuring tool that's accepted by the municipal land use laws, that density is how many units per acre?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on page 18, you have listed a number of buildings with units. What is the density?
The densities range from 50 dwelling units an acre to 110 dwelling units an acre.
Okay, let's go through them one at a time then. The first one Hudson, 168 units. What's that density?
I don't know the density off the top of my head.
Okay. The Alexander, you know what that density is?
As I stated, that was 85 millions an acre, and I believe that it was increased when they came in and asked for an additional number of units.
You know if that was approved?
The Alexander, yes, it's under construction.
Is it under construction with 100 units per acre?
I don't know at this time. I would have to double check.
Okay. North Star,
I don't know what the density is off the top of my head.
Hudson View Properties,
Don't know the density off the top of my head. Actually, it's a hotel, so that's irrelevant.
Aralex. Well, if it's irrelevant, is there a reason why it's in your table?
Yes, because I'm dealing with land use, I'm not just dealing with density. And we're analyzing the use variances that were granted.
Okay.
That was granted as a use
Fair,
variance.
fair. Aralex,
Aralex, I believe was, I want to say in the neighborhood of 60 millions an acre.
60 units?
No, actually, I can't say. I don't know. I misspoke,
Okay.
because I think that I was talking about the Aventine, I don't think I was talking about Aralex, excuse me.
Be a fair statement to say that Naybao with 58 units is less than 100 units per acre, and Aventine that has 34 units is less than 100 units per acre?
Yes.
St. Moritz,
Don't know the density off the top of my head.
okay, and 115 River Road,
Again, don't know the density.
so as we sit here today, you know of one development that may have 110 units per acre in all of Edgewater.
No, that's actually not what I stated. I don't know the density off the top of my head for some of these projects.
Okay, so with regard to your memory and your notes and your recall, you can recall one building in all of Edgewater that has 100 units per acre?
That I can recall, yes.
And based upon, do you have any of those, that information contained in your report?
No.
I had a few more questions on the county issue. Based upon what you've just testified to with maybe not knowing all the densities in Edgewater, can't the transit-orientated development that's proposed by the county be achieved within the Edgewater densities that existed prior to the 2012 ordinance 1485?
No.
So you can't do a transit-orientated development unless you do extensive density increase?
Correct.
Why?
Because you need density to support transit-oriented development.
Based on what?
Based on ridership numbers. It's sort of the, it's a, what's the right analogy? I'm looking for an
Chicken
analogy.
for the egg.
Maybe that's what we're talking about. Yes, you do need high density to support transit-oriented development. And that's a general planning standard.
Where is that found? Where is
It's
that
a-
planning standard? The only thing that I've ever, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not a planner, the only thing I've ever heard of is that transit-orientated development needs to provide street-level commercial and street-level walkways and access for pedestrians and bus stops. I have never heard any planner tell me that you need to have high densities to support transit-orientated development. So I would like to know on what treatise or what you rely on or what books,
I
where would you
rely
find
on
that?
15 years of planning experience That's what I rely on. I've been to many different conferences, and I've been involved in discussions in many different towns about the subject. And I actually used to work for where I actually designed light rail systems. So I am very familiar with the concept of transit-oriented development, and yes, you do need higher densities to support transit-oriented development.
And in Bayonne, where they put in the light rail, they never put in 100 units per acre.
I can't speak to that because I'm not familiar with Bayonne.
Okay, so light rail doesn't require 100 units per acre. Is that correct? Would that be a fair statement?
No, I cannot respond to that appropriately because there is no set requirement in terms of density per acre to install a light rail system. And if there is, again, that's probably under the jurisdiction of New Jersey, DOT or another state agency. But what I can tell you is that higher densities are necessary for supporting transit-oriented development.
That's what the county's report says as well, right?
Well, yes.
Their recommendation.
Can you tell me where you took the classes or participated in, I guess, discussions where there was a finding, conclusion, that you need to have 100 units per acre in order to have transit-orientated development while you're not doing a traffic study?
We're not, she's an expert planner that's recognized by this board and hired by this board. We're not going to go through her educational background in every single educational class or conference that she's attended. She's made a recommendation based upon reviewing a county's report, and based on her expert opinion as to what she's recommending to this board and to this borough for future development.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Bassan, except I'm asking her a little bit further.
No, you're asking for every conference and every educational issue.
No, that's not true.
She studied to come up with her opinion.
If that's
You
what
want to
I
ask
think
about
I
the
said,
opinion, ask about the opinion. Don't ask about the education.
I apologize. I'm trying to find out where she has studied a increased density without doing a traffic study. Should be, is it all of your classes? Is it all of the studies? Is it one? You're increasing density and you haven't done a traffic study, that's correct.
Yes,
Okay.
but the county has.
I'm sorry?
The county has.
I'm asking you, you haven't done a traffic study for what you are specifically designing or recommending for Edgewater.
Correct.
Correct. And we already examined the county. The county made some generalized statements, but they didn't do a specific planning analysis of Edgewater. Is that correct?
That question is way too open for me to answer. I don't know what you mean by planning analysis.
Okay. Let's go back to your planning analysis. You're relying solely on the county's report and has done no traffic analysis yourself
In regards to what?
in regard to increasing the density from 30 units to 100 units per acre.
No, that I have not just based it on the county's study.
Okay.
I've already stated that we have done analysis of the densities in the community that have been developed, have been approved. They range from a 50 to 110 dwelling units an acre, and in order to make them conforming to the zoning ordinance, we set up a variety of zones that have a range of densities so that these projects can fit to those ranges. And we're not saying that all of them are at 100. They all fit, some fit in that category and some fit in category below that. And I think there were some misstatements that were made at the last hearing by Mr. Burgess, stating that we could increase by 6,600 units. And I find that to be untrue because he took the maximum density of every parcel that was rezoned rather than actually taking a look at the ones that were either ripe for redevelopment or development. He took everything, which means that the Alexander would assume to be knocked down and maxed out at 100 dwelling units an acre, and Waterford Towers would be knocked down, and Hudson Park would be knocked down and maxed out at 100 dwelling use an acre. And the fact remains that those buildings are not going to get knocked down at any point in our lifetime. So, so therefore, what we've done is try to have properties be conforming to the zoning ordinance, because it is better planning and zoning. There's case law to that effect. It's better planning to have